what you've been observing as you've watched your players and trying to grapple with all of these issues of the day, and how that stood out to you in this unique circumstance with everything that's going on? What stood out the most to you the last couple of days?
Well, I just think our group in particular has great leadership and great togetherness, and it's been an emotional time the last couple of days for the whole league, for our group, and a lot of emotional ups and downs, and I'm happy to see where this landed, and our group right now is we just had a great practice, and our guys are focused and ready to resume.
Yeah, Frank, towards that end, how does that balance go, where you get on the court and you try to focus on basketball in Game 5 with the Blazers, and yet, these last 48 hours and change, really going back the last several months, all that you and the players have been trying to deal with from a cultural and a social and all of that perspective?
Yeah, it was a heavy couple days, but our group has we have a PhD in handling adversity by now, so we've been through a lot this year, and it was good for our guys. I wanted to have a mentally light day today, where we just really hit the floor and got right to playing, right to scrimmaging, and I feel like it was good for our guys to just get back on the court.
Hey, Frank, it's Dave. You just mentioned you wanted to have part of your approach today to be mentally light. I'm curious if you guys have learned anything as a group from these last 2 days in terms of the churn of this bubble. And I understand, it's a pandemic and there's a cost association with however long this thing lasts. But do you think there was something gleaned in terms of these guys going one day on, one day off for X amount of days has an expiration date, and you can learn something moving forward for the remainder of the time you're down here?
Yeah, it's tough to say. This is obviously unprecedented and a unique time for all of us. I think, for me and, my observations of everyone that's in here, the day-to-day aspect of it is manageable. We're focused on our process and competing in the games. But, when things come up, when adversity strikes in people's individual lives or in a bigger picture like we saw the last couple of days, that makes the surroundings more difficult to handle. And, I think that's why you saw what transpired over the last couple of days. Maybe it's handled differently if we're not, 6 or 7 or I don't even know how many weeks we've been in this bubble. But, it certainly, it hits you a little harder. Things hit you, personal adversity hits you a little harder when you're in this environment. So, but hopefully, our guys have had a chance to recenter themselves and are excited to get back to playing.
Alan? Kyle?
Frank, on Wednesday, I'm sure word reaches you that your team walks out of the meeting and maybe has some sentiments toward leaving or not playing. At that point, what's your approach? I mean, do you go hands off? Do you try to have conversations with players on your team? Where were you? How are you positioning yourself in that Wednesday night to Thursday morning?
Yeah, I'm not going to get into the details of all of that, where I was and what conversations I had and whatnot. All I know is it landed in a place where we all want to play, and we're all excited about resuming the season.
Would you characterize it as active or let these guys figure it out?
I wouldn't characterize it as either.
Okay.
Mark?
Hey, Frank, the thing you just said about how the team has a PhD in managing and handling adversity, what jumped out to you and impressed you with how the guys navigated the last 2 days?
Well, they communicate, and they love each other, and when you have genuine feelings for each other and a commitment to one another, I think you can lean on each other, in tough times. And I did see that with our group this last couple of days, and like I said, we're all happy to get back on the basketball court.
Tanya?
Danny described the scene to us of everybody's napping and suddenly they get a knock on the door and there's an emergency team meeting, got to talk. What were you doing when you heard?
Yeah, I woke up to a bunch of texts and an ESPN alert on my phone that the Bucks had boycotted the game, and that's how I learned about it.
And did you guys did you have the guys do anything yesterday, or was there a gym open to them if they wanted to, or just?
We had a gym open, but we made it a complete off day.
Okay.
Joe Vard?
Numerous people have been asked this question today, including Danny, but also Doc and some of the people over there with the Clippers. Was there a point on Wednesday when you thought the Lakers were going home?
Personally, not really. I felt like it would land in a place where we would resume playing, but it did obviously feel like there was a chance, for sure, that that we wouldn't resume. But I felt like ultimately, when it was talked out and the final decision would be to resume. That's just my personal feeling of where it would land.
Okay. Doc said a very similar thing, that he didn't personally think that, but he said he thought other guys in the room did think that. So you agree with that?
Yes.
Who else here? Tanisha, do you have anybody on your end?
I do. Melissa?
Hey Frank, obviously with LeBron being the face of the league, just from what you've observed the last couple of days, how much responsibility and how much of an emotional toll has this all taken?
You really have to ask him that. He's always a tower of strength for our guys and a great leader, and that hasn't been any different in the last couple of days. So, like I said, he was excited to get back on the basketball court today. Our whole group was excited to get back on the basketball court, and we're excited to resume play.
The last two on my end will go Brad Turner.
All right, Frank. You coached Paul George at Indiana, and he made the comments about a dark place in the bubble, and I was just wondering if that had an effect on everyone there, perhaps. And then you get this perfect storm of the Bucks deciding not to play, and it just all converges together, and you end up, where we are now.
Yeah, it's tough to speculate whether one impacted the other. Obviously Paul made his comments, and shortly after that, the Bucks did what they did, and the rest of the league did what we did. But it's tough to make the correlation between the two. I don't really know if one impacted the other.
Thank you.
Brian Kamenetsky.
Thank you. Frank, sort of along those lines, how has the experience from sort of that mental health and stress standpoint, just personally, how is the experience of being in the bubble matched with what you might have thought it was going to be going in? It does seem a lot of players are talking about that mental stress.
It's definitely a mental challenge. Like I said, we have a great group to be around, and we all lean on each other and support each other, lift each other up. I've got a great foundation at home with my wife and two daughters that I'm in communication with all day, every day, and they keep me lifted as well. I keep them lifted. It's for all of us in the bubble. It's even harder for the families of us that are in the bubble. So it's important that we're all trying to lift each other up and support each other. So I don't know what expectations I had coming into it, but it definitely has been a mental challenge. But one that, like I said earlier, when it's a normal day-to-day approach, we're focused in on the process, and it's manageable. It's when adversity strikes. Someone loses a loved one, or someone outside the bubble is sick, or Jacob Blake incident happens. All these things that challenge us mentally, emotionally. That's when the bubble gets difficult. But just one of those things that I'm thankful that we have a strong support group around us, both with our Lakers family in the bubble, as well as my family outside the bubble.
Allie?
Yep. Last question. Kyle, good?
You mentioned that you guys have a PhD in adversity at this point, and very specifically, you've gone to China and had to play a game after that situation, after Kobe, a very tough emotional game. Going into this, obviously, none of these situations are the same, but I'm sure you're aware there's going to be an emotion component to going back on the court. How do you prepare differently based on the games you've already been through for a type of game like this?
Yeah, well, you just have to have a good feel for it. You know, like I said, today was a mentally light day. You know, we didn't do a lot of thinking, a lot of scripting, running through 1,000 plays, all those types of things. It was just let's throw the ball up, let these guys scrimmage some, and you know, the preparation would have been different probably on a normal day before a playoff game, and you know, we'll probably be a little lighter than usual for tomorrow, knowing that we've already played these guys, you know, 4 times, and you know, so that's how it could be slightly different. But our guys, once they hit the court, they've been super locked in and focused all year long, no matter what the circumstance, no matter what adversity throughout the year that we've been facing.